back. Before we get started today, here is starting the day. Know It All Summer Series. I told y'all we was doing a special series for the summer to keep everybody interest intact before season 2. Season 2 come. We finna come with some new shows, new topics. So be on the lookout for that. So before we get started on our first show, the summer series, the first part of the summer series is about, because I'm tired of it, the GOAT. Everybody calling themselves the GOAT. Everybody the GOAT. That ain't the case. So on here to Know It Alls, that's our first set of some series, GOAT series. So we finna disclose, instead of just having one person is the GOAT, because in Ralph's case, we'll go football, because this is our debate forever. He believed that a drug addict cheater is a GOAT.
God.
I think a guy with an oversized head is the GOAT. So that's
trash.
our debate.
His brother better than him.
That's our debate all the time. You know, when your wife is more athletic than you are without cheating, you know, who can go there. But that's me and Ralph debating.
Ooh,
So,
shots.
on that note,
Shots.
from the intro.
Oh my.
Welcome back. First show, summer series, Know It All Summer Series, GOAT episode. So like we always do, we starting off on what I love most out of everything, basketball. And there's been a hot debate about who the GOAT is. Sorry, Isaiah, LeBron is not the GOAT, dude. Anybody who hairline look like that, they bogus. Just cut his hair all the way out.
Oh, God.
So, our GOAT episode, we're going to do something different, man. Because everybody got their different preference. Because a lot of people, Allen, I'm calling you out, they go whoever they seen play. So, I'm going to call Allen out, especially since he's not here. Allen think Kobe is the GOAT of everything. I can't consider a person a GOAT, and they copy their whole style of living off everything. Rest in peace, Kobe. You know, much respect, but Allen, you don't know what you're talking about. Your status as a know-it-all get dropped down. So how we gonna do it? We're gonna break down our picks as the GOAT of the 90s, 2000s, 2010s. I was gonna do 80s, but since Ralph was born like 89, I ain't gonna do that to him. So
we could have did the 80s. I'd have killed it.
So we're gonna start off in the 90s. So I'm gonna let Ralph go first. My mother always told me, let girls go first. Oh man, I'm gonna let Ralph go first.
Stop there.
Ralph, who you got for your GOAT of the 90s?
I'm gonna go with, well, first and foremost, you got nine championships, and then 10. So you got 6 by the Bulls, 2 from Houston, 1 with the Spurs,
1 by Detroit,
and then 1 by Detroit. So clearly, you would say the Bulls was the team of the 90s then, correct? So I'm gonna go with MJ. I get MJ as the GOAT of the 90s, but also I give Akeem a little credit too, because I don't care what nobody say, the Bulls will not have won 8 straight championships. Akeem would have got with them and got busy on them, at least one of them. So I'll give it to MJ and Akeem for the 90s, even though MJ pretty much dominated the 90s. I mean, point-wise and championship rings and all that, but I still got to give a lot of credit to Akeem.
I'm gonna speak into the mic here. This is a know-it-all exclusive that me and Ralph actually agree on something for a change. So that's everybody know I'm Michael Jordan #1 fan. So my two GOATs for the '90s also are Mike and Akeem. Same thing Ralph said. Mike hands down. It's nothing even to debate. If you need to debate anything about Michael Jordan, you don't even know sports. Don't even talk sports with me. Even with Dream, if you have to discuss Dream, if you have to discuss Dream, you can't talk basketball with me either. Dream is all the centers I seen play. I seen a lot play. Study history, everything. Dream top 5. Dream was everybody want to talk about other than Mike. Dream was consistent his whole career. Day one, putting in numbers. If Mike went in the league in '84, Dream hands down would have been Rookie of the Year. And killed all year. I also agree with Ralph. The Bulls weren't gonna win 8 straight. Nah. If you're a fan of sports, and a lot of y'all not, and I don't care about calling y'all out, because you know I'll tell y'all to y'all face. The Bulls' first three-peat, Houston used to spank the Bulls. Utah used to get with the Bulls on the first three-peat. But Houston, that's why you think they changed the circuit trip, because they called it the Texas Triangle. Because they used to go to Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and they used to get mollywopped when they went. Check the records. I ain't even gotta look nothing up because I know. But I think Houston would have got them in '93. I've said it on an earlier show. I think after the '93 season, I think just like any team that plays a lot of playoffs, they get wore down. I think after the '93 season was such a drain, it would have been too much with the Bulls. Just like I think if the Bulls would have came back for '99, I think they would have lost in '99. But I don't even think they would have got to the finals in '99. But that's a whole nother.
Yeah, I don't think they would have either.
That's a whole nother topic. But I think Houston would have got them in '93, '94. I think the Bulls would have came back and blasted them because it would have gave Mike that incentive, that motivation that he lost. They'd have came 72-10 would have came earlier than '96. I'm gonna put it to you like that, because they still would have had Horace Grant. Would have had Coach. It'd have been a problem when they lost in '93, but that's just my opinion. So we're gonna go from that. We're gonna go to the 2000s. 2000s saw the end of the Bulls. It saw a changing of the guard in the NBA. You went from a lot of how the teams was in the '90s with the low-scoring games, with a lot of defense, which I miss, and the 2000s. Tried to open it up some and get more scoring. And you saw the effects of Michael Jordan and the type of players. Also, let me piggyback back on the '90s. I got to give an honorable mention to my man Chuck Wagon. They disrespect my boy Chuck because of TNT. Chuck was a monster. I don't care what nobody say. Top 3 power forwards all time. Chuck was a killer to be 6'5", playing power forward.
He could jump the way he could too.
For you young guys, all y'all see is Chuck as a TNT host. What y'all think Zion is or will be, that was Chuck. Chuck could handle the rock, get the rebound, dribble the whole length of the court, dunk on somebody, block a shot, plus Chuck could shoot. So I just wanted to say that.
And he could talk shit.
And he talk smack. And he'll fight. He couldn't fight, but he'll fight. 2000s, change of the guard. A lot of the old heads from the 70s and 80s were starting to retire. And the new wave, new brash kids came in. And those 10 years, it was dominated by, hey, I'm gonna go first. I've been letting Ralph go first. My GOATs of the 2000s, it could have went either way, but I'm gonna give it the 3-head monster. I'm gonna give it to Shaq, Kobe, Duncan. Them 3 dominated the 2000s. They balled. You Shaq. Once 2000 came, he hit his peak. When he first came to LA, Shaq was unstoppable. Young Kobe Bryant, as the kids say, Kobe with the fro. That's the Kobe I like. That Kobe was a killer. He reminded me of an 87 to 89 Mike. And that's a good debate. Which player would you take? 87 to 89 Mike, or I'm going to say a 2001 to 2004 Kobe. Which player would you take? But that's something we could debate on Facebook. But, and then, anybody know me, know how I roll with Duncan. Ralph will tell you, first chance of being a know-it-all, I was in this barbershop saying Duncan was going to get drafted by the Spurs. Way before it happened, when he was still at Wake Forest, I was like, he going to be a Spur. So, with him going to my squad and day one, first team All-NBA, first team defense, 2 MVPs, 4 rings in the 2000s. My boy balled the whole decade. So I'm gonna go with that 3: Shaq, Kobe, Duncan. What about you, Ralph?
Sadly, I had to agree. You got the exact same 3: Shaq, Kobe, Duncan.
Another know-it-all exclusive, ladies and gentlemen.
And also, in my opinion, this was the best time for bigs in terms of power forwards in that 10-year span too. Because you got KG, Shea Wallace, Duncan, Chris Webber, all in the West at that time. Dirk. So like Amari Stoudemire.
For a couple years, Antonio McDyess.
Yeah, I forgot about Antonio McDyess. And then you had, you got to see Shaq if you're in the West. So I think the West probably was the best it ever was since like the 80s in the 2000s. Like you literally, if you was a power forward, you had to come with it every night. And these dudes you seeing 3 or 4 times a year, depending on what division you are in. So I definitely think it was them 3. Obviously, in terms of titles, the Lakers dominated it. They won 5 in that span.
But you look at it, they won 5. Spurs won 3.
Pistons and then Miami.
Pistons and Miami.
Yep. So you got that. But also, the Spurs and Lakers was almost facing each other every time in the conference finals. All the way through. And you had Sacramento a couple years,
too.
The
Lakers went to the finals 2000, 2001, 2002. Well, they won 2000, 2001, 2002.
Lost
then
in 03.
Won 09 and 10. So, I guess
the Spurs every other year after the Pistons won, then you got the Spurs every other year.
Every odd year.
Yeah, and then you had Miami that snuck in there that Dallas gave him that. But yeah, so I mean, Duncan literally, everybody says Duncan is the greatest power forward. It's also my favorite player ever for the NBA. Like, it was nothing better. He was straight fundamentals, man. Nothing better than, he dominated KG and all, and Webber and Rasheed Wallace. And Rasheed Wallace is like one of my favorite players as well, just the way he played. But you couldn't ask for no better basketball in that time frame than Kobe coming into his game of how he was, how, everybody talk about how he copied Mike and all that, but why not? They got him to where he's at today. God rest his soul. But, in terms of his basketball, man, dude was killing people. Everybody. And to be one of the GOATs and to be one of the greatest, he went, and to keep back to the 90s, he went and hollered at Akeem Olajuwon about footwork.
I give him credit on that one.
And that's what a lot of players started doing in that time frame. They started going back and started talking to Akeem, not necessarily trying to steal his moves, but it was his footwork. How if you look at when he matched up against David Robinson and all them, and the footwork he did that they always show on NBA highlights.
That's what the GOAT of the hairline ought to do. Talk to Akeem.
But LeBron actually went down to Akeem. He actually have footage of that. And I don't know, for one season he used that footwork, and then after that I don't know what happened after that. Like, he was using his post game, but you could tell it's just not his game. But He also, but you know what? You actually got to give LeBron a little credit too, because LeBron came out in 03, and he was dominating for those 7-8 years that he played in that frame too, with dealing with all those big time players too. So, but definitely those three are the ones. I mean, you can give KG a little shout out. Side note, I mean, I got to give KG his credit with that because he didn't win nothing, but my fault. Boston won it up in there too. I forgot all about Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I forgot all about Boston with that. So Boston won a ring in that time frame too. So
basically, yeah.
So I mean, you gotta give him his little bit credit, even though he only won one, but that's more than to what Weber and Wallace. Oh no, Wallace got one. My fault. What was Weber on that? Oh no, he wasn't. So yeah, but those three dominated by far.
So you got the Lakers winning.
The Lakers
out of 9 years, because we ain't gonna count 10. You gonna count 2000.
Yeah, so you go from 2000 to 2009. So Lakers 4, Spurs 3, Pistons, Miami, and Boston 1 apiece. So yeah.
So we go from that decade to the 2010s, which again was a changing of the guard. So my two goals for that decade was this is for my sons. I dedicate this to my sons because this last decade, this has been a constant debate in my house. So the two GOATs are LeBron. For me, LeBron and Steph. LeBron is. It ain't even no question with LeBron. You know, I crack on LeBron all the time, but I'm a big LeBron fan. I always tell people LeBron is what the ball player that you're taught as a kid. Before everything corrupted and everything, you're always taught to make the right play, to be unselfish, to get your teammates involved, to do this, to do that. And LeBron does that. If you cut out all the BS that we don't like about his game and stuff like that, he's very team oriented. So I've always liked that about his game. And even though I don't like the fact that he always had to posse up and load his teams up, which caused me not to respect that. I still don't knock the man's talent. Steph, good or bad, changed the game with his three-point shooting. You know, three-point shooting was really done in the 80s and 90s as it was a second thought. Like if he was wide open, you took the shot. They made it easier that they used it as a weapon for him. You know, no lead was ever safe. Is ever safe when you're playing teams now because teams utilize the three so much. And I say you contribute that to Golden State. You know, I always say the league is a monkey see, monkey do league. So whoever wins, they try to copy what they did. Just like LeBron, when he went to Miami and loaded up his team, people started copying, trying to load their squad up, which they're still doing now, and they're somewhat getting out of it. And once Golden State started winning and hitting threes, everybody started doing, they got to hit threes and all that. So LeBron and Steph, I ain't mean to go on that long about that, but LeBron and Steph for these last 10 years. I could give an honorable mention to KD, but it's a certain way I feel about KD. I like him as a player, but I don't think his impact was as great as Steph and LeBron. What you think, Ralph?
Gotta agree again. LeBron and Steph, I mean, and I don't even think it's close with nobody else. I mean, KD's there, but after he did that stuff with OKC and went to the Warriors, I don't mess with him no more like that. So LeBron and Steph, LeBron been dominating for a long time, and Steph literally came from broken ankles and always hurt to now you're one of the most dominant players in the league right now. So I don't think it's close to nobody else with them two. Like by far at that. Like LeBron was what? He literally went to the conference finals 11 straight years at that time? In the 2000s, so I mean 2010, so I mean not the conference finals, but the NBA finals. So that's remarkable in itself. You ain't seen stuff like that since like Jerry West and them back in like the 60s and 70s. So and actually, as I'm sitting here when I was writing it, only team that really dominated, like team-wise, for that is the Warriors. They got three. Everybody else is just around them. I mean, the Heat 2, Spurs 1, Cavs 1, Lakers 1, Dallas 1. I'm missing somebody though. Can't think of who that other team is. So LeBron, what, 3 rings in that span?
Toronto.
Oh, Toronto, 2019. They was the last one. Yep. So yeah. So you figure Kawhi got 2 rings in that time frame. You know, a lot of people try to give Kawhi a GOAT nod too, but I think it's way too early, and I don't think he's done.
And he don't play enough.
He don't play enough, and he's starting to become a prima donna to me that don't even talk. So, and I really used to love him when he was with the Spurs. I really don't too much care for him now.
Well, he got the Spurs. His luck ain't been good, and that's what you get because you shouldn't love the Spurs.
Well, he wanted to leave. I mean,
and that's why his luck ain't been good.
Yeah, but I mean, he won that ring. He left.
Still,
and then after that, he ain't been good. So so I mean, I think the 2010s have been dominated by those 2 players, but in terms of teams, I think it's been dominated by any team LeBron's been on in the Warriors. Yeah. So you kind of look at it, you can tell they've been the best 2 players by far because even though KD was on 2 of those Warriors teams, but his OKC teams were good too back in the day. And they produced 2 other good players, which I ain't never seen. I don't know.
2 other regular season good players.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't
do nothing in playoffs.
I mean, what's another team that really created MVPs, homegrown MVPs from one team like that?
Good scouting team.
Yeah, and James Harden, was real good with OKC, but they just didn't give him the time they needed. He got up out of there, he got his money. Now he's a prima donna too. And Russell Westbrook, his game is just plummeted. I feel sorry for that man, but yeah, so them 2, and then those, the Warriors and any team LeBron play with.
Well, there you have it. Our choices for our GOATs of the past 30 years. Feel free to discuss it with us. Make comments on the show. And let us know what you think. And if you agree to disagree, feel free in the comments to say who you think qualifies as the GOAT or should be in consideration. That's it for the know-it-alls as far as always do Love 1030. You can catch our show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Talkin Sports with Know-It-Alls. We're going to provide you with more flavor. Like I say, this is our first in the series of summer specials we're doing. Check out our next edition of the GOAT series. We're going to discuss baseball. We're going to discuss our GOATs in baseball. So be on the lookout for that. In other words, for your boy Jimmy, Big Ralph, for the whole crew, Tim, Nikki, Dirty Ant, KD, Ralph, G.O. also. Talking Sports with the Know-It-Alls. Catch you later.